I've got number 3 as personal development as a coach is a subject close to my heart. I know it's close to yours because you're a coach too, and you speak to many people yourself. Do you see the need to differentiate between a man and a woman in the way we approach the coaching and personal development, subject of personal development? And if so, then how?
Hey, can you answer that question first? I'd like to know your take on that.
Oh, yeah, you're going to throw it back in my face, are you?
Yes, I mean, I've wanted to know your take on that for quite a while.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think you've got to be aware that that we are different, emotionally different. But once you understand that, then it's still getting to the root of why we are in personal development, why we are the way we are. If we understand the beliefs and the rules and the value system that we've adopted, and we examine it and we find that maybe it doesn't work anymore, maybe it did work originally, then that's good. But if it doesn't work anymore, we need to find new values, new rules, new beliefs to be able to go further forward. And that's the same whether you're a man or a woman. That's the way I see it. But you have spoken with a lot of people, not just in researching your book, but through your life. You've been somebody who's been on that self-discovery journey. So have you found it to be different in your experience than what I've just described? Threw it back at you there. I caught the ball, I threw it back.
No. Ask me that question in a different way, Andrew.
Okay. We're talking about personal development. We're talking about the way to improve the human condition, the way that we can be a better person. Is it different in your view, the way we should approach it if we're a man or a woman? In your experience, in the conversations that you've had, because you've had many, with both sexes, do you think that there should be a different strategy for men and for women? So yeah, it's the approach and to personal development that I'm talking about here, rather than any sort of tension between men and women. I'm talking about the way to improve yourself, to grow as a human being. Is there a different way of doing it, in your opinion, for men than women?
Yes.
Ah, there we are. That's what we wanted. So can you now describe what's different?
It depends on the person. It really depends on the person because we all speak a different language, men and women, and as a human being. So I'm not that evolved yet to really give you that answer thoroughly.
That's a sideways glance. The ball went off out of field now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm humble enough to say, you know what? Yes, there is a difference that we need to communicate with men and women. There is a different way. I'm not evolved yet in that aspect to give you an honest answer, and I don't want to give you some bullshit cream in a cup answer for that, because I don't want to take that the wrong way and then ride with it and go, but you said, Ray. You know.
So yeah, it just fascinates me because there's coaches on men who coach women, women who coach men, women that coach women, men that coach men, and I guess I've not really coached as many men as women. That's been something I'm kind of aware that maybe the people that I have coached, the men that I have coached, have been more like me. There was a book by Alan and Barbara Pease, and they're talking about the differences between men and women in the book. And there was a test that you had to take to find out whether you were more male orientated than female orientated. And my partner got that she was more male orientated, and I I got that I was more female orientated. That's why I said what I said at the beginning of our conversation, that I feel more attuned to women in coaching than I do with men. I get troubled by you call them the jocks in the States. What can I say to this guy? He thinks he's got it all. He thinks he understands the way the world is. So this sort of gentle approach, this kind of let's sit down and let's reason together, let's think it through, let's talk about. He hasn't got any time for that. He's just I don't want any of that kind of language. So I do find myself talking more to women than to men, and as a result of that, maybe the edges have blurred, but I know that you've talked to both men and women, and that's why I asked the question. So I stand corrected, even though you don't know exactly how I need correcting.
Yeah, well, there's ways that when I talk to people to mentor them, my language doesn't fit well with every woman. Some women need more of a gentle approach that I know I can give them, or they need more of a spiritual approach, which I know I couldn't give them, or they need more of a religious approach that I know I couldn't give them. So, I mean, again, it's compartmentalizing where your talent lays, and we all speak a different language of love. And you can. What was it I was telling you yesterday? I said, Andrew, scientifically, a human being has to see the same message 7 different times before they can even attach it to them. Okay? And the reason why is because we all receive messages differently. You can tell someone, get your shit together. That's one way of telling someone. And one group of people will go, oh my God, get your shit together. On a meme, hits them right there. And it might not hit the rest of humanity that are in the same boat that needs to get their shit together. And you can write it in a different way of, this is the time for you to act upon your dreams. Well, that's the same thing as saying is get your shit together, but it's worded differently. And that other half will get that message and the rest won't. And then you have to word it a different way, as in the moment is now for you to, receive what's coming to you. If you allow yourself to open up to it. That's the same thing as get your shit together. And then, again, that group of people will take that and go, oh, that's the message I need to hear, and the rest of the world doesn't understand or doesn't really care for. And then in another aspect, they'll say, God is about to give you a windfall. Get ready. It's the same thing as get your shit together, Yeah. You have to say it in 7 different ways, the same message, if you really want to impact a huge group of people.
I think that's quite a good answer, seeing as you said that you weren't going to give one. That was a very a very good answer. That it is to do, again, with communication and language, and that's really what matters. Whether we're talking to men or women doesn't really matter. We need to understand the language, the way that they communicate. If we can, as coaches, if we can understand their vernacular, the way they speak, and then we can speak back to them in a similar way, then they will understand us. If we don't,
to our audience, when we say language, we don't mean different language. We mean
not French, German, Italian. No.
About that. When we say language, we're not saying different language, French, German, or Spanish. We mean by
how do you communicate the way you feel inside? How do you communicate the things that you believe? What is the words, the verbiage that you use?
A particular group of people.
Yeah, and different people speak different way.
Yes, and different people are in different seasons. So, for you to tell a teenager that is not, whose family is not religious or practice religion on this is to say God is about to open up your life for you and there's a windfall coming, it is time for you to receive it. That teenager is not going to understand that, even at 19 years old. They might understand get your shit together, but they're not going to understand that.
Yeah.
At the same point, if you tell a 50 years old who is finding God, or their language is religion, to get their shit together, they're not going to really be happy with
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So as a coach, as a mentor, you really have to assess an individual before you start just rattling off what you believe. Because as a coach and individual, for you to give your message across, that's your whole agenda, right?
Yeah.
To get your message across to help your client, you have to shut up and listen and pay attention to that person first for the first couple of sessions to understand that individual instead of just throwing up all your knowledge to them.
Excellent. Clarity. We always need clarity. That was very clear.